بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue reading the Tafsir As-Sa'di. Today we are at Surah Takwir. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا الشمس كورت, when the sun ceases to shine. وإذا النجوم انكدرت, and when the stars are scattered. وإذا الجبال سيرت, and when the mountains are made to vanish. وإذا الإشار أتلت, and when the heavily planned she-camel is left unattended. وإذا الوحوش حشرت, and when the wild beasts are gathered. وإذا البحار سجرت, and when the seas are set on fire. وإذا النفوس زوجت. Here they say, and when people are sorted, so the other meaning also is when the souls are united, and the souls are united, the body. وإذا الموءودة سئلت, and when the female infant buried alive is asked, بأي ذنب قتلت, for what sin she was killed. وإذا الصحف نشرت, and when the records of deeds are laid open. وإذا السماء كشطت, and when the sky is stripped away. وإذا الجحيم سئرت, and when the blazing fire is kindled. وإذا الجحيم سئرت. وإذا الجنة أزلفت, and when the prayer is brought near. علمت نفس ما أحضرت, and every soul will know what it has brought of deeds. That is when these terrifying things come to pass. People will be separated, and each person will know what he sent for his hereafter, and what he brought to it of good and evil. When the day of resurrection comes, the sun will cease to shine. That is, it will be gathered together and rolled up, and the moon will lose its light, and they will both be thrown into the fire. And when the stars are scattered, that is when they change and fall from their orbits, and when the stars and when the mountains are made to vanish, that is when they become like heaps of loose sand, and then they become like tufts of dyed wool. Then they will change and turn to scattered dust, and will be made to vanish from their places. And when the heavily pregnant she-camel is left unattended, that is at that time people will become heedless of the most precious wealth that they used to care for, and tend to all the time. There will come to them that which will distract them from that wealth. Allah mentioned in particular the heavily pregnant she-camel, which was the most precious wealth for the Arabs at that time, to refer to everything that is equally precious. And when the wild beasts are gathered, that is, when they are gathered on the day of resurrection, so that Allah may settle the scores among them, and show people the perfect nature of his justice, to the extent that the hornless animal will be set to its score with the horned one. Then he will say to them, be dust. And when the seas are set on fire, and despite the immense size, they become covered with fire. And when people are sorted, that is, and the people of each particular deed are gathered together, so the righteous will be gathered with the righteous, and the evildoers with the evildoers. The believers will be united with the Al-Hurul Ain, and the unbelievers will with the devils. This is like the verses in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the disbeliever will be driven to hell in groups. Those who fear the Lord will be ushered into paradise in groups. Allah will command and gather together those who did wrong, and others of their ilk. And when the female infant buried alive is asked, this refers to the extremely ignorant practice of the pre-Islamic area, when girls were buried alive for no reason other than fear of poverty. So the female infant who was buried alive will be asked, for what sin she was killed. It is well known that she was guilty of no sin. This is a rebuke and harsh criticism of her killers. And when the records of deeds that contain all that people did of good and evil are laid open and distributed to their owners, some will take their records in their right hands, and some will take them in their left hands, or from behind their backs. And when the sky is stripped away, that is removed, this is like the verses in which Allah says, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, on the day when heaven will be rent asunder with clouds. On that day we will roll up the heavens like written scroll. On the day of resurrection, the entire earth will be in his grip, and the heavens will be rolled up in his right hand. And when the blazing fire is kindled, on that day we will roll up the heavens like a written scroll. On the day of resurrection, the entire earth will be in his grip, and the heavens will be rolled up in his right hand. And when the blazing fire is kindled, that's when the fire is lit until it begins to rage and increase until it is blazing like never before. An emperor is brought near to the righteous, that every soul will know what it has brought of deeds that is sent forth. This is like the verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, they will find all they did recorded. On that day we will roll up the heavens like a written scroll. On the day of resurrection, the entire earth will be in his grip, and the heavens will be rolled up in his right hand. And when the blazing fire is kindled, that is when the fire is lit until it begins to rage and increase until it is blazing like never before. Our emperor is brought near the righteous. Then every soul will know what it has brought of deeds that it sent forth. This is like the verse which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, they will find all they did recorded there. This details that Allah gives of the day of resurrection from a form, of resurrection form a description that will shake people to the core. Hardship will become very intense. People will be deeply shaken, and fear will become widespread. They should motivate people. These details that Allah gives of the day of resurrection form a description that will shake people to the core. Hardship will become very intense. People will be deeply shaken, and fear will become widespread. This should motivate people of understanding to prepare for that day and deter them from anything that could incur blame. Hence, some of the early generation said, whoever wants to look at the day of resurrection as if he can see it should reflect upon the surah when the sun ceases to shine. إذا الشمس كورت. فلا أقسم بالخنس, verily I swear by the stars that recede during the day. الجوار الخنس, then rise and set during the night. والليل إذا أسأس, and by the night as it departs. والصبح إذا تنفس, and by the first breath of morning. إنه لقول رسول كريم, verily it, the Quran, is a word conveyed by noble messenger Jibril. ذي قوة عند ذي العرش المكين, having power of high rank before the Lord of the throne. مُثَاءٍ تَمَّ أَمِينٍ, obeyed there by the other angels, and moreover trustworthy. وَمَا صَاحِبُكُمْ بِمَجْنُونٍ, your companion Muhammad is not a madman. وَلَقَدْ رَآهُ بِالْأُفُقِ الْمُبِينِ, indeed he saw him, Jibril, on the clear horizon. وَمَا هُوَ الْغَيْبِ بِدَنِينٍ, he Muhammad is not to be accused of lying about the unseen. وَمَا هُوَ بِقَوْلِ شَيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ, it, the Quran, is not the word of an accused devil. أيوة, وَمَا هُوَ بِقَوْلِ شَيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ وَفَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ, which way will you go? إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ لِلْعَالَمِينَ, it, the Quran, is but a reminder to the worlds. لِمَنْ شَاءَ مِنْكُمْ أَنْ يَسْتَقِيمَ, whoever among you wills to tread the straight path. وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَنْ يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ, but you cannot will it unless Allah unless Allah, the Lord of the worlds, so wills it. Here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by the stars that recede. This refers to the heavenly bodies that recede, meaning that they fall behind from the regular procession of the stars, or heavenly bodies towards the east. They are the 7 heavenly bodies that move in the sky, namely the Sun, the Moon, Venus, Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, and Mercury. يعني this يعني يعني here this translator, I don't know if it's Saadi, but يعني this Venus, Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn, Mercury, يعني we don't affirm it or we don't reject it, because يعني these scientists sometimes they say things and the other time they come and reject the thing that they said before. So I don't know if this is Saadi or this is addition from the translator. المهم يعني some things that the scientists say is true, but some things we don't reject it and we don't accept it. Like them going to the moon, we don't accept it, we don't reject it. No. These seven have two courses. One course towards the east, like the other stars and heavenly bodies, and of course that's the opposite of that, towards the east, which is only for these 7 and no others. He's talking about the 7 planets. So Jupiter, Mercury. You know, Allah swears by them at the time when they recede. It's when they fall behind, and when they ruin their course, and when they disappear and are concealed by day. And Allah is swearing here by the stars here. It is sun and moon, and the other stars. Yeah. And it may be that what is meant is all heavenly bodies, both those that move and others. And by the night as it departs. It was also suggested that the word translated here as it departs means comes. So the meaning of the verse will be, and by night as it comes. And by the first breath of morning, that is when signs of dawn appear and light gradually begins to emerge through the darkness until it is fully light and the sun rises. In these verses, Allah attests to the sublime prevalence of the Quran, its magnificence and protection against every accused devil, as he says, "Verily, if the Quran is a word conveyed by noble messenger, namely Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam, who brought it down from Allah Azza wa Jal, as he tells us elsewhere. Verily, this Quran is a revelation from the Lord of the worlds. The faithful spirit Jibril has brought it down to your heart so that you may be one of the warners." Allah described him as noble because of his noble character and many praiseworthy qualities, for he is the best of the angels, and the greatest of them is status before his Lord. Having power to do what Allah commands him to do, by his power he overturned the house of the people of Lot and destroyed them. Of high rank before the Lord of the throne, that is, Jibril is close to Allah, he is of high status, and is one of the allied chosen by Allah. His status is superior to that of all his status is superior that of all the other angels, obeyed there by other angels. That is, Jibril is obeyed among those on high, and he has troops among the angels who are close to Allah. They are subject to his command and will obey him. And moreover, trustworthy, and he does what he is commanded to do, no more and no less, without transgressing the limits set for him. All of this is indicative of the noble status of the Quran before Allah Azza wa Jal, for it was sent with this noble angel who possesses these perfect characteristics. Usually, kings do not send someone who is dear to them, except on the most important missions, or the most significant sublime messages. Having mentioned the virtue of the angelic messenger who brought the Quran, Allah now speaks of the virtue of the human messenger to whom he sent down the Quran and who called people to it. Your companion, namely Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is not a madman, as was suggested by his enemies who disbelieved in his message and fabricated lies against him, aiming to extinguish thereby whatever they were able to of what he had brought. Rather, he was the sanest of people, the most nature in thinking and the truest in speech. Indeed, he saw him, Jibril, on the clear horizon. That is, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw Jibril alayhi salam on the clear horizon, which is the highest that anyone can see. He, Muhammad, is not to be accused of lying about the unseen. That is, not to be accused of adding to or subtracting from that which Allah revealed to him, or concealing part of it. Rather, he is trusted by the inhabitants of heaven and the inhabitants of earth. He conveyed the message of his Lord clearly, and did not withhold any part of them from anyone, rich or poor, leader or follower, male or female, city dweller or desert dweller. Therefore, Allah sent him to an enlightened and ignorant nation. He did not die until they had become devoted scholars who had attained a high level of knowledge and understanding, and they had become, as it were, professors, while the most that others could do was their student. If the Quran is not the word of an accused devil, having mentioned the magnificent virtue of his book by highlighting the virtue of the two noble messengers through whom the book reached people and praising them, Allah declares the people to be free of any problem or shortcoming that could undermine its credibility. The Quran is not the word of an accused devil. The word translated here as accused means far away from Allah, where will you go? So which way will you go? That is, how can this even cross your minds? How do you lose your minds to the point that you regard truth, which is the highest level of credibility, as being like lying, which is the worst type of falsehood? Can this be anything but turning facts upside down? The Quran is but a reminder to the worlds, through which they may learn about their Lord and about his sublime attributes and what shortcomings should be declared above, and through it they may learn about the commands and prohibitions and the reason behind them, and about the divine decrees and religious rulings, and through it they may learn in general terms of what is best for them in this world and in the hereafter, and they may attain bliss in both realms by adhering to it. For whoever among you wills to tread the straight path, after guidance has become distant from his guidance, but you cannot will it unless Allah, the Lord of the world, so wills it. That is, his will always done and cannot be opposed or prevented. In this and similar verses, there is a refutation of the Qadaris, who deny the divine will, and the Qadaris who deny the free will of man, as has been discussed previously, and was best. Praise be to Allah. This is the end of the commentary on Surah Al-Takwir. All praise and thanks are for Allah, and may the praise and peace of Allah be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, and his companions abundantly until the day of judgment.